Welcome back, everybody, for another deep dive. You guys sent in some seriously cool stuff about delay.
Yeah, delay.
Not just like clothes,
Yeah.
but like a whole movement.
hmm
Delay, fashion and activism all rolled into one, especially in India. So get ready to unpack how what we wear can actually like make real social change.
Definitely.
So we're going to do our usual thing. I'll point out the cool stuff, and then you'll kind of connect the dots and give us that deeper analysis. Sound good?
Sounds great.
All right. So delay. The sources mentioned this founder, Nitish Kumar Thakur, and he was like super frustrated with fashion, style over substance. He wanted to create clothes that looked good, and he did good at the same time.
Yeah, and what's really interesting here is that delay isn't just like jumping on that ethical fashion trend.
Yeah.
They're trying to make activism accessible,
Oh, interesting. Let me tell you.
especially for like younger generations in India.
Okay, I see where you're going with this. So how are they actually making activism accessible?
Well, for one thing, their prices are really competitive. I mean, most of their clothes are between like 600 and 1200.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And that's huge when you're thinking about their target audience, right? A younger demographic maybe doesn't have a ton of disposable income.
Yeah, that's a really good point. But
Yeah.
like affordable clothing, that often comes with, a cost. There are concerns about fast fashion or unethical labor practices.
Right.
Do the sources talk about that at all?
They do, actually. They're very upfront about being committed to ethical sourcing and manufacturing. They're working directly with suppliers who, follow fair labor standards, and they use sustainable materials
Okay, interesting. So like what?
like organic cotton, recycled fabrics, stuff like that.
Wow, so they're not just like cutting corners to keep prices low.
Nope.
That's really impressive.
It's a tricky balance for sure,
Yeah.
but they seem to be doing a good job so far.
Okay, so let's get into the details of their activism side of things. What causes are they like actually championing?
So they've got a pretty wide range of causes: gender equality, caste discrimination, poverty alleviation, environmental sustainability, all very central to what they're doing.
So it's not just like a vague do-gooder vibe. They're taking on some real issues.
Exactly. And they're not just, slapping a slogan on a t-shirt and calling it a day either. They're actually weaving these causes into their collections.
Oh, interesting. Okay, so like specific designs that go with specific causes.
Yeah, exactly.
Give me an example.
One of the sources mentioned a collection they did with an NGO that was working on gender equality. And they designed all these t-shirts with like powerful graphics and quotes from, famous female activists. And then a portion of the proceeds from those sales went directly back to that NGO.
That's really cool. It's like wearable activism
Mm-hmm.
and a way to get people talking about these issues.
Right, exactly. And that's a key part of their strategy. They
Right.
want to spark conversations and raise awareness.
Speaking of conversations, how are they actually getting the word out? I mean, it's one thing to make like cool clothes,
Right.
but it's another thing to actually reach your target audience.
Well, they seem to have a pretty smart marketing approach. They're really focused on social media, which, makes sense given their demographic.
Yeah, that's where all the young people are these days.
Yeah.
But what are they actually doing on social media that's so like special? Are they just like posting pretty pictures of their clothes?
No, it's a lot more than that.
Okay.
They're using storytelling to connect with their audience on an emotional level.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Tell me more about this storytelling approach.
So, for instance, they might highlight stories of people who have been impacted by the causes that they support,
Oh, wow.
or they might showcase the behind-the-scenes work of the NGOs that they're partnering with.
So they're not just selling products, they're selling a narrative.
Exactly.
That's powerful.
And it aligns with this bigger trend of like conscious consumerism, where
Mhm.
people want to know the story behind the products they buy.
Right.
They want to feel like they're part of something bigger than themselves.
Delay's tapping into that desire perfectly. But how do they make sure that all their claims of ethical sourcing are actually legit?
Right.
I mean, it's easy to say you're doing good, but it's harder to like actually prove it.
Totally. And
Ooh.
consumers are like more aware of that these days. Greenwashing is a real concern.
Totally.
So transparency is a big part of their brand identity.
Okay.
They go to great lengths to trace the journey of their clothes, literally from the farms where the cotton is grown to the factories where the clothes are made. They even have a section on their website where you can see exactly where each piece was produced.
Wow, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
It's like they're inviting you to like scrutinize their whole supply chain.
Yeah, exactly. And that kind of transparency really builds trust with consumers.
It also makes it like
Mm.
way harder for them to hide any shady practices.
Right. Exactly. They're putting their money where their mouth is.
So we've got affordable pricing, ethical sourcing, cause-driven collections, A&D radical transparency. Sounds almost too good to be true.
It's an ambitious model, for sure.
Yeah.
And it'll be interesting to see how they maintain that balance as as they grow. But, for now, they seem to be doing a lot of things right.
Okay, so they've got like the product and the messaging down, but how are they actually getting people to buy into like the whole delay movement?
So, beyond their core values, they've got some pretty creative engagement strategies. For example, they've implemented these gamified loyalty
Oh,
programs.
gamified loyalty programs, huh?
Okay. And they reward customers for, doing things beyond just buying clothes.
Oh, that's cool. How does that work?
So one of the sources gave an example of a program where customers earn points for like sharing delay social media posts or volunteering for a cause or even just writing a review of their experience. And then they can like redeem those points for discounts or exclusive merch.
So it's like they're incentivizing people to become like mini activists. That's pretty smart.
It is. It taps into the psychology of like gamification.
Yeah.
People are motivated by rewards
Totally, yeah.
and, a sense of achievement.
And it probably helps them like build a stronger community among their customers too, right?
Absolutely. It's not just about selling clothes. It's about building a movement.
It's really fascinating how they've woven together all these different things to create this really unique brand identity.
It's definitely a case study in how to build a purpose-driven brand in the 21st century.
I'm really curious to hear more about the impact they're having, both like on the fashion industry and on those social causes that they're championing.
Let's dive into that.
Okay.
Okay, so let's zoom out a little bit, look beyond the brand itself. What kind of impact is delay actually having?
Yeah, like beyond selling clothes and getting people talking on social media, are they really making a difference on these big issues they're tackling?
Well, it's hard to measure that kind of thing directly.
Yeah.
Social change is complicated. But there are some really encouraging signs.
Like what? Give me some specifics.
Well, for one, they've actually donated a lot of money to those NGOs they partner with.
Oh, okay.
One of the sources even had a quote from a director at one of those NGOs, and they were saying that delays funding actually helped them expand their programs out in rural communities.
That's really cool. I mean, it's proof that they're putting their money where their mouth is.
Yeah.
But like, what about the impact on the fashion industry itself? Are they like inspiring other brands to follow suit?
It's still pretty early, but there's definitely a growing awareness of sustainable and ethical fashion. And I
Mhm.
think delay is part of this wave of brands that are like really challenging the status quo.
Okay, yeah. Do you think they're actually changing consumer behavior? Like, are people starting to shop differently because of brands like Delay?
I think so, yeah. Especially with younger consumers, they're much more aware of social and environmental issues, and they're looking for brands that reflect their values.
It's like they're making it cool to care.
Exactly. They're proving that you don't have to choose between style and sustainability. You can have both.
Okay, so they're making a difference on a few levels. But what about the challenges? Surely they're hitting some roadblocks along the way, right?
Of course. Scaling a business and like staying true to your values, it's never easy.
Yeah.
One potential challenge is going to be maintaining their affordability as they grow.
Right. Because sourcing sustainable materials, making sure there are fair labor practices, all that usually costs more. So
Right.
how do they balance that with wanting to keep prices low?
Yeah, it's definitely a balancing act. They might have to get creative with their sourcing or like their production methods, or maybe they'll have to find ways to offset those costs through, other revenue streams.
Hmm. Maybe they could do like a premium line of clothing that's made with like even more sustainable materials.
Yeah.
That way customers who can afford it could choose to pay a bit more to support their mission.
That's a great idea. And it would let them keep their like core line of clothing more affordable for people who, don't have as much money to spend.
Totally. Another challenge I was thinking about is competition. There are a lot of brands out there now trying to appeal to the conscious consumer. How does Delay stand out?
Well, that unique blend of activism and fashion is definitely a key thing that sets them apart.
Right.
It's not just talk about sustainability. They're actively supporting these important causes, and their focus on India gives them like a really specific niche.
Yeah, that's true. They're really tapping into a market that a lot of these global brands often ignore. But what about like the long term? Where do they go from here? What's their big vision?
Well, one of the sources mentioned that they're planning to expand their product lines, Right now, they're mostly doing casual wear, but they're looking into adding things like accessories, maybe bags, even shoes.
Okay, that makes sense. It'll let them reach more people and give people more ways to, like, express their values through their style.
Exactly. And they're also thinking about expanding internationally. They want to become a global name synonymous with purposeful fashion.
That's a pretty big goal.
Yeah.
But, I mean, given how well they've been doing, I wouldn't put it past them.
No, they're definitely ambitious. But that ambition is fueled by this really genuine desire to make a difference.
Okay, so we've talked about their impact, the challenges, their vision for the future.
Hmm.
But what about the big picture? What does Delay's success say about, like, the state of the fashion industry and the power of conscious consumerism?
I think it shows that consumers are becoming a lot more discerning, right? They're not just blindly supporting brands anymore.
Yeah.
They're really thinking about the values behind those
They're
brands.
voting with their wallets.
Exactly. And that puts pressure on those brands to do better.
Right.
And that's why we're seeing more and more companies trying to embrace sustainability and ethical sourcing.
Right, right. Do you think this trend is here to stay? Or is it just like a passing fad?
I think it's a fundamental shift in consumer consciousness. People are realizing that their choices have a real impact on the world,
Mm.
and they want to be a part of the solution, not the problem.
Delay's definitely riding that wave, and they're doing it in a way that's stylish, affordable, and makes an impact.
They're proving that you don't have to choose between looking good and doing good.
So they've got a great story, a solid business model, a clear vision for the future. But what does this mean for our listener? Why should they care about Delay?
That's a really great question. And I think the answer is simple. Delay is an example of how we can all use our choices to make a positive impact.
It's like they're saying, hey, you don't have to be a superhero to change the world.
Exactly.
You can start with, like, changing the way you shop.
Right. Every purchase is a vote. And when we choose to support brands like Delay, we're voting for a more just and sustainable future.
But it's not just about buying the clothes, right?
It's definitely not.
It's about taking on that mindset.
Yeah. It's about being mindful of the impact of our choices, asking questions, supporting those brands that are trying to do the right thing.
It's about recognizing that, like, we all have the power to make a difference, even if it feels like a small way.
Delay is a powerful reminder of that.
So where do we go from here?
Mm-hmm.
What's the next step for someone who's feeling inspired by Delay's story?
Well, like I said earlier, the first step is just learning more.
Okay.
Check out their website, follow them on social media, see what resonates with you.
And then?
Then think about how you can apply those principles to your own life. Maybe that means buying a shirt from Delay, or maybe it means researching other ethical brands, or maybe it means just starting a conversation with your friends about conscious consumerism.
It's about taking action, right? Turning that inspiration into impact.
Exactly. Delay has shown us what's possible. Now it's up to us to carry the torch.
So what can you do to, like, be a part of this change? It feels like Delay is setting a pretty high bar.
Yeah, it is inspiring, huh? And it might seem kind of daunting to try and make a difference on such a large scale. But remember, change starts with those small steps.
Okay, break it down for us. What's a good first step?
Well, going back to what I mentioned earlier, checking out Delay's website, their social media, that's a great starting point. See what they're all about. Explore the collections. Maybe you'll even find a piece that, speaks to you and, treat yourself.
Right, that vote with your wallet thing. But it's got to be more than just buying stuff, right?
Mhm.
What are some other ways to, like, get involved, even without, like, spending money?
Oh, for sure. Education is key, right?
Yeah.
Learn more about the issues that Delay supports. You could read articles, watch documentaries, follow those activists and organizations that are, already working on these issues.
Knowledge is power. The more you know, the better choices you'll make.
Exactly. And don't underestimate the power of just talking about it, Chat with your friends and family about ethical fashion, conscious consumerism, and how our choices really do have an impact.
I think a lot of people don't realize how much power they have as consumers. Like, we're just so used to feeling kind of powerless, in the face of these huge global problems. But actually, every time we spend money, we are making a choice that has these, like, ripple effects.
That's such a good point. And social media can be a really great tool for amplifying your voice. Share Delay's story, put a spotlight on other ethical brands that you love. Start those online discussions about things that you care about.
Yeah, even something as simple as liking and sharing posts, that can actually make a difference. It helps to spread awareness and shows those brands that, hey, people want change.
And if you're feeling really inspired, why not go a step further? Volunteer your time. Donate to a cause that you believe in. There are so many ways to get involved, even if you don't have, a ton of money to give.
It's about finding what feels right for you and like taking action in any way that you can. Even small actions add up when we all come together.
Exactly. I mean, look at Delay. They started as this small brand with a big vision, and now they're making waves in the fashion industry and beyond.
And it all started with just one person who was just like truly passionate about making a difference. It reminds us that we all have the power to create change no matter who we are or where we come from.
Delay's story, it's inspiring. But it's not a fairy tale. Building a more ethical, sustainable world, that takes hard work. There are going to be challenges and setbacks, maybe even times when you doubt yourself.
But that's okay. Like, we don't have to be perfect. Just got to keep trying, keep learning, and keep pushing for a better world.
And remember, it's not a competition, it's a journey. So, enjoy the ride. Celebrate the small wins. Don't sweat the mistakes.
This has been such a cool deep dive. Thanks for bringing Delay to our attention.
It's been great exploring all this with you.
And to all you deep divers out there listening, we hope this got you thinking and feeling inspired to, take action, big or small. Every single choice matters. So go out there and make a difference.
And keep those brains engaged.
Catch you in our next episode.